I've come on about 5 minutes early to try and set up in case I had any technical problems. So hopefully we won't have any this week. We had a few problems last week. Any questions for me about the British royal family, please enter them into the chat box. I can see the chat system on my laptop, which is over here. So welcome to my third live chat. If you're there, please say hello to me in chat. I like to know who's there and who's watching. I hope you've all had a really good week. And of course, this is one of my favourite times in the week where we can all come together as a community of people that are interested in the royal family. Okay, so we have one person sending a message. And I think his name is Anthony. So, hello. Hello, MV. And if you have a question for me, please put it in the chat box. It's been quite a busy week in royal circles with the Prince of Wales, up to lots of engagements. Prince Harry is also back in the country. Hi, Loretta. And hello, Orito, who is in Valencia in Spain. So hello to all my Spanish friends. Anthony is from the Caribbean, of St. Lucia. Anthony, welcome to this chat because in the upcoming tour that was announced for Prince Harry, he's going to be visiting the Caribbean. So I'd like to know your take on Harry's visit to the Caribbean. I'm not sure, I can't remember if one of the stops was St. Lucia. But that will be terribly exciting and I will be covering that event. So let me state my intentions. I intend to spend at least an hour on this live chat. If it goes really, really well and there's lots of questions, I may do longer. Because I'm British, I do have a cup of tea, so do excuse me if from time to time I sip. Okay, hello Tim. And Tim's from Tennessee. Arito says, I cannot listen to you. I'm sorry, Arito, I can't help you there. Check your sound. I'm not sure why you can't hear me. Can everyone else hear me? Hopefully. Please say yes. Okay, Tim says, I wish we could get some royals to the USA. Hopefully there will be some visiting. I know it's not quite the USA, but we have the upcoming Duke and Duchess of Cambridge visit to Canada, which is fairly close, I suppose. So you have got that to look forward to, and of course I will be covering up to date on that. Tim can hear me, so that's all good. The Grenadines, yes, they are visiting the Grenadines. So maybe, hopefully, you'll be able to go and see them. Yes, they were going to St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, Barbados, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines. Okay, Loretta says, what's my take on Prince Charles being... Oh, I think I'm back. It was indeed, I had to restart the phone. Okay, so Tim says it's hot here and there's a major football game on. 116,000 people. Wow, that's a really big game. What team is playing? I'd like to know. I'm just trying to re-angle the phone to get a better view. Okay, hang on. Okay. Okay, that's better. So we had 19 viewers. Well, I seem to have lost a few of them because of the problems. I am sorry guys, if it does cut out, I'm going to have to just take a few minutes and reload the phone. There was a problem with the YouTube server, it told me. I think that's what kicked everything off. So I think if that happens, I have to restart. That's just the way it's got to be, I think. So, carry on with your questions. I was really enjoying the chat. Hope you've all had a really good day. Okay. I'm not sure how much of my answers it cut off on the last time. Yes, we're live. Hello, Tim. We are back. For those of you interested, in one of the comments in my video, I think a lot of people know from the last live chat that I'm reading the Ken Worth book about Diana. I am still currently reading it. I don't have a lot of time to read. I have a full-time job and home life and making the videos. So I usually read books before bedtime, so I only read in very short sort of sections. But I am making my way through it, and it is a really good read. So I would recommend buying it. You really get a sense that he's on Diana's side. So it's definitely not a derogatory book about her, which I think from some of the leaks from the book, I maybe got the impression that it was, but it's not. It is very supportive of the princess, for those of you that were worried about that. Tim says he came to London in June to see the Queen. I was so happy. I saw her at St Paul's and Trooping the Colour. Wow! Congratulations, Tim. I bet that was really amazing. Did you get any photos of the Queen? And of course I covered both of those events in my videos. Loretta says, what's my opinion of Prince Charles being the Londoner of the decade? Well, I think it's very subjective. I mean, it depends what you're judging being a Londoner of the decade on. I mean, of course, Prince Charles was born a Londoner, but he's never been, if I do the inverted quotes, a normal Londoner. He's always sort of been in a gilded royal cage, if you like. So, of course, he's probably one of the most high-profile Londoners, but certainly not a normal Londoner. But I guess if you're looking at it from the point of view of what work he does and all the charity work and the impact he's had on people's lives, then yes, I can quite see why he was nominated Londoner of the Year, of the decade rather. But I am going to discuss that in a video. But it is always subjective. Sometimes things that people hold in high esteem are not what other people do. So some people will agree with him being Londoner of the decade and some won't. Okay, I don't think we've got quite all of our viewers back. Hopefully we do. Would be nice. But yes, that's the most viewers I've had so far, 17, yay. And I'm really glad that people are getting to know that I'm going to be here at this time every week. I think it's important to have a time when we can all come together. I did, of course, my last video upload was on the Swedish royal family, and of course I've never done a video on the other European monarchies before, but I was really tempted by the Prince Alexander christening story. So I created a new playlist for European monarchy royal news. So anything that does take my fancy, I will put in that playlist. Okay. MC Anthony says, do you think that Prince William of Cambridge will be the next king? No, it will be Charles. The monarchy isn't like Big Brother. It's not a popularity contest. You can't pick and choose. Charles is next in line. The only way that William could be king is if either Charles dies before the Queen, and therefore William's next in line, or if Charles abdicates. But I can't see that on the cards at all. So it will definitely be King Charles, or he may choose to take a different name. He could become George the Seventh, which I think is most likely. So I think, because he's obviously been the longest heir to the throne in history, and he's done a lot of work associated with his name Charles, I think as king he may take George the Seventh. That's my prediction. And of course, the wife of a king is always queen consort. So unless the law is changed, which that's not on the cards either, we will have a Queen Camilla. Okay, and Anthony says, when will Queen Elizabeth II abdicate? I don't think she will. I think she took her oath very seriously that she made very publicly. When she said her whole life, whether it be long or short, will be dedicated to the service of the United Kingdom and the Commonwealth. And I think she really took that to heart, and again she made that solemn vow at her coronation. And I think she holds that as being sacred. I think it will be a case of the Queen is dead, long live the King. Other European monarchs have abdicated in favour of their children and they've entered a retirement. That's not the way the British monarchy is doing it. It seems to be more of a gentle handover. So more and more of her duties, her responsibilities are being passed down to Charles and younger members of the family. And that's the way I think that we're doing it. So I think we'll just try and make things easier for Her Majesty for as long as we can. But I certainly think she will die a queen. Okay, Loretta says, why do you think the British royals get more attention than other royals in other countries? Well, I think obviously it's one of the most long-standing monarchies in the world. And I think a lot of it, in part, is to do with the fact that we've still retained a lot of our sort of pomp and circumstance and our traditions. I think European monarchies have been diluted somewhat, and I think there's been an effort with those to become more normalised. And I think it's the fact that our royal family is very different that they're sort of more popular. And of course, it can't hurt that the Queen has been on the throne for 60 years. So of course she's done a lot of travel, and she's been photographed many times, and she's appeared in many newspaper reports worldwide, and so has the family. Okay, so for those of you that have just joined, this is a live chat. So hello if you're there. Please say hi. And if you've got any questions for me, please don't hesitate. Just write them in the comment box and I will try and answer them as best I can. Loretta says, thanks. Thank you for your question. Please keep them coming. One question for you guys. Who would you say is your most favourite member of the British royal family? Let me know. For me personally, I think it is a little bit like, I'm going to do my Forrest Gump impression now. It is a little bit like a box of chocolates. You've got different flavours and different fillings, and they all kind of come together to make a chocolate box that you can buy into. So for me, it's I like all of them for all their individual different reasons. Okay, Anthony says, has the renovation work and the burial site began? I think you mean Diana's burial island at Althorpe. I'm not sure. It is, of course, a private estate, so photographers aren't just allowed in. Obviously, paying guests can visit, but I think the work was on the cards. I don't think it's began just yet. It was part of the Althorpe long-term plans to renovate the grounds, and obviously because it's such a large private family house, they need visitors and tourists to come in to keep it afloat. That's how many of these really big private estates have to operate these days. There just isn't the money around to keep them going as just private houses. They are generally used as enterprises, so the houses have to look after themselves, and unfortunately that means tourism. Now, this is where a lot of people have conflicting views, because in Althorpe, obviously, Diana is a really big tourist draw. You can argue that it's good that people that like her and want to pay their respects to her can actually go and visit and do that, but also the Earl gets criticism for taking the money from that. But then you could also argue that the money gets put back into the estate and keeping it going, and keeping her ancestral home going, keeping the legacy going, and hopefully now improving the grounds in which she's buried. So lots of conflicting views. I'm not sure where all of your views fall on that, but I think we have to be very objective about it. There are plus points and there are negative points. Okay, Anthony says, my favourite was Princess Diana, but I'd stick with Prince Henry. He kept his mother's mission going. Yes, he's done a lot of work, especially for HIV and AIDS and sick people, which of course was one of Diana's main charity and sort of major awareness raising projects. So Harry has kept on with that, and of course he's kept on with wounded soldiers and members of the armed forces who are sort of ex-forces, and he's heavily involved in conservation work. And of course the Cambridges and Prince Harry are involved very much with mental health charities. Okay, so hello to any new viewers. Again, if you don't know the format, please leave a question in the chat box or just say hi. I don't mind if you just watch and just want to enjoy the chat, but please do say hi. I hope you can still all see me and nothing's cut off. Okay, another question for you guys. Obviously we can't predict royal news, but what other things would you like me to cover in my videos? I did start a new folder on royal jewels, which hopefully I'm going to carry on doing that, but there has been so much news stories crop up that I haven't had time to do any more with it. I already started writing an article on the Russian fringe tiara, so that's on the back burner because there's been so much news coming up, and obviously with the upcoming Canada tour, that will keep me busy for a very long time. Okay, Anthony says, my favourite was Princess Diana, but I stick with Prince... Oh, I just read that one. I've got to keep on top of it. Okay, Loretta says, did I say I was only going to be online for an hour each Saturday? A minimum of an hour. If there's not a lot of people and the questions have dried up, obviously there's no point in staying on longer than an hour. But if there's loads of people and there's lots of questions and lots of talk and lots of chat, I can extend that. So it's not definitely an hour, it'll be a minimum of an hour. Okay, Anthony says, will anyone be given the title Duke or Duchess of Windsor after King Edward's abdication for love? Obviously, that was a title created just for him. It's not been filled since. Although I do have my own opinions on the title. I think, although it has lots of negative connections probably within the family, I do think that maybe if ever Prince Harry gets married, that could be a good title for him. It's the family name, and I think he's got a very good opportunity to reinvent the title and give it a new positive image. Although obviously the Queen is the one who bestows these titles, so while she's alive, that may not happen. And obviously that title could go unfilled for many, many years. But I think it would be a good one for Harry. I also think had Princess Diana lived, I think round about 2005 when Charles and Camilla got married, there would have been an opportunity to perhaps create her a different title. She could have dropped Princess of Wales and maybe acquired a Duchess title in her own right. And maybe that could have been one for her. And possibly she could have reacquired the HRH as mother of the future monarch. That's just all hypothetical, of course, but I think we would perhaps have seen a change round about the time that Charles and Camilla got married. A positive change. Okay, Loretta says, thanks for answering the question. That's okay, that's what I'm here for. Have I read Finding Sarah? No, but having read this book I'm reading now about Diana, I think it would be very interesting to read Finding Sarah, so I may read that one. Loretta says she agrees it's a good title for Harry. I really think so. I think he embodies all of the Windsor spirit, and I think he would do the title justice and reinvent it and give it a really positive spin. Or my other choice for Harry would be the vacant Duke of Clarence. I think Duke of Clarence would suit him very well too, and of course perhaps he could even take on Clarence House as a London residence one day. Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay. Loretta says, wasn't Diana the Duchess of Cornwall? I thought the title was one of Prince Charles's subtitles. Yes, you are correct. Diana was also Duchess of Cornwall, and I think the Countess of Chester, and Baron. A title in Ireland, I think, is their Baron title. So of course Camilla did take on those titles when she married. What other titles are still available? There are a few. If we're talking dukedom titles, I think there's Somerset. There are a few vacant ones that are returned to the crown, as we call it. So when people die who have these titles who don't have an heir, the title returns back to the crown, as it's called, and then it's within the Queen's gift to be able to give out those titles. So of course when, for example, the Duke of Edinburgh dies, his title will revert to the crown, then it's muted that will be passed on to Edward. So Edward will be the new Duke of Edinburgh. CM Moon says, hi, I made it. Hello, welcome. If you've got any questions, please type it in the chat box. Okay, Anthony says, so why was she buried under the Princess of Wales title? It's because she wasn't the Princess of Wales. When she was married to the Prince of Wales, she was called the Princess of Wales. When she divorced, she became Diana, Princess of Wales. So if you see what I mean, Princess of Wales became a surname rather than a title. So Camilla is technically the Princess of Wales, which is why I had my theory that when Camilla married Charles, if Diana had lived, I think there would have been a change of title for Diana, because you can't have the Princess of Wales and a Diana Princess of Wales. I don't think that would have worked. I think Diana would have been given a new title, possibly a Duchess title in her own right. Perhaps, but obviously that's all up in the air, because obviously we know what happened. But yeah, so Princess of Wales was used as a surname, exactly the same as Sarah, the Duchess of York. She was the Duchess of York. When she got divorced, she became Sarah, the Duchess of York, being used as a surname. So, although it's a subtle difference, it is a very important difference. And of course, she lost the HRH as well. And one of my ponderings for the future is perhaps when William is king, perhaps he may give Diana posthumously back the HRH. He could do that, I believe. And of course, we know that they're planning something, hopefully, for her 20th anniversary, which is next year. They said that there is nothing in London on the size and scale that befits her. So, if it was going to be something like a monument or a statue or a big fountain, very much like the Victoria fountain, that would have to be commissioned well in advance. And as we've only got less than a year now, either plans have already been made or something will be announced at a later date. But if it's something of a really big scale, that may take longer than the 20th anniversary, but maybe the unveiling of a new commissioning may happen on the anniversary. So hopefully there'll be something big for next year. What would be the purpose of the HRH after death? It could be to put into practice the fact that the parent of a future monarch would always be a HRH. So if William was to issue letters patent to say that every divorced parent of a future monarch retains the HRH, that would give Diana back the HRH. And I think to a lot of people in this country, the fact that she was stripped of that didn't go down very well. And I think if she was given that back, I think it would sit a lot better with the British people, and people would feel like one of the wrongs against Diana had been righted. So I hope that answers your question. I mean, obviously Diana wouldn't know that she'd be given the HRH back, but the people left behind, William, Harry, her grandchildren, the rest of the people in the world would know, and it might mean a lot to other people. So I hope that answers your question. I do believe also that if Diana had lived, William could possibly have given her the title held by Henry VII's mother. Because Henry VII's mother wasn't born royal, she wasn't a princess, she was given the title My Lady the King's Mother, Her Royal Highness My Lady the King's Mother. And I do believe that Diana may have been given that title had she lived, because she wasn't born royal. She was born into aristocracy, but not royalty. And of course she wasn't a princess in her own right. So she would never have become Queen Mother or King Mother, because she wasn't a king, a queen in her own right. So I do believe that she would have been given the title My Lady the King's Mother, which was given to Henry VII's mother, Margaret Beaufort. So if you research Margaret Beaufort, it's a very similar kind of situation had she lived. So the importance is only in other people's feelings. Yes, and I think that's very important. Why not? I think William, it's reported that William was always against Diana being stripped of the HRH. So perhaps one day he may give that back. People are awarded medals posthumously for gallantry, within the forces in particular. So I don't see that couldn't happen. It may happen. We will have to wait and see. Okay, so hello to all my new viewers if you're there. The format is just leave me a question in the chat box and I will try and answer it as best I can. So welcome to Royal Reviewer live chat every Saturday at 10 PM GMT. Please let me know what sorts of videos you like, what you enjoy, what you'd like to see, any other royal questions. What do you all think about Prince Harry house hunting? That was quite a big story of the week. I did also recheck the website where I found the house on. It's actually an app on my phone. I went through a property app and I actually found the property that he was looking to buy, and it still hasn't been sold, so it's still very much on the market. Okay, Anthony says, I think that the royal family needs to allow future... And it stops. Anthony, if you want to finish your question, so I'm not quite sure what you're asking. Loretta says, just waiting to see if he'll buy it. Yeah, I think we're all waiting to see if he'll buy it. It seems to be one of the only properties on the market that really fits what he's after. Of course, he's after separate accommodation for his protection officers and staff, so that property ticks that box. He wanted a property that was on its own land and not overlooked, so that property ticks that box as well. It's also accessed via its own private long driveway, so it's set well off the road, so for privacy reasons it's got that box ticked. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's not too expensive to run or to look after the land, so it does seem a very good choice. And of course it's very close to Anmar Hall and to Sandringham, so it does have all the credentials that Prince Harry would be looking for, and I don't think any other properties in the area do. So I think it's still a very good option, and it may just happen, but if it does, I think it will be it'll be a very private transaction. I don't think we'll hear about it until it's well underway, but I will keep checking to see if the property's on the market. That could give us a very big clue. Okay, I think Anthony says needs to allow future... Okay, yeah, Anthony says, I think the royal family need to allow future princes and princesses to marry for love. I think they already have done. I think actually starting with the Queen Mother. I think the Queen Mother and George VI married for love. I think the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh married for love. I think Charles and Diana. I think Diana married for love, but I think Charles was obviously feeling a lot of pressure to marry. William and Catherine married for love. So I think they already have done. And hopefully George and Charlotte will also marry for love. Okay, Loretta says, I agree with Anthony, a lot of people have been hurt finding a virgin. I think the last real example of that was Charles and Diana. Although, as I said before, I think Diana did marry for love. I think she did really love Charles. And I think for a time, Charles did love Diana. But I think from his side, very early on, there was a lot of pressure to marry and to find an acceptable bride. And I think when one was found, I think he kind of went with it. And I think maybe he did have feelings to begin with. But of course, we all know what happened. But I think certainly William and Catherine married for love, Duke of Edinburgh and the Queen married for love, the Queen Mother married for love. So I think there has been lots of examples down the generations where that has happened. And of course, Prince Harry is getting up to the age now when Charles was getting married. And of course, when Charles was getting married, 32 was considered quite an old age to get married. And people aren't saying that about Harry. I mean, people are wondering, when he's going to settle down. But there isn't that same pressure. So I think, 30, 35, 40 years down the line, it's got better. So I think people are allowed to marry for love. And there certainly isn't any mention of the person needing to be a virgin. Okay, so hello to any new members, new viewers rather. Please leave me a question in the chat box or just say hi. I will be here every week at 10 p.m. GMT time, so it's a good idea to Google the time difference where you are between the Greenwich Mean Time, which is the UK time, and then you can work out when for you 10 o'clock is. So so when I started this chat, this session, it was 10 o'clock in my time. So you'll be able to work out when you can see me. I think I picked a really good time because America, Canada are around about 8 hours behind, and of course it's a good time for Europe. So hopefully this is a good time for you. Okay, CM Moon says, are they not pressuring Harry to settle down? I think the family would like to see him settle down, but they know that it's got to be the right person for Harry. Harry would not settle for the wrong person. And of course, it always has to be a special person to understand the role, understand the responsibility, and understand and accept the sense of duty and loss of privacy that will come with a relationship with a British prince. Because of course you don't just marry the person, you marry into a job, you marry into the firm, you marry into an institution, you marry into the country. You give up your privacy. You have to be surrounded by a protection officer 24/7. Your house is guarded. It very much is a gilded cage, and you have to be the right sort of person to be suited to it. So, I think that's probably what scared off Harry's previous relationships, is that when it kind of dawned on them that that's the life they'd have, I don't think they went for it. I think Harry's gone for a lot of free-spirited people in his relationships. And if you're a free spirit, you're not inclined to be tied down. So I think that's probably a lot of the problems he's had. So he's got to find the right person. And that may take a long time. I'm sure he's not short of offers, but I think you have to weigh up exactly what you would do. Would you want that life really? So I hope that answers your question. Okay. I hope the connection is good. I hope I'm not buffering too much or cutting out. I think we seem to have got over those problems now. If ever I do cut out, please just hold on. I've discovered that if ever it does cut out, it's probably because it's a YouTube server connection problem, and to get over that I need to reboot the phone that I'm recording from. So if that happens, it usually takes about 5 minutes. Okay, Loretta says, have I read Sarah's first book? I haven't, but I think she discusses the royal life and why it's a hard life. No, I haven't read that one. Again, is that the Finding Sarah book? Or was the first one called Sarah? I would like to read those, but I have obviously studied the monarchy for quite a long time, and I do know that there are a lot of pressures involved with it. It isn't just all smiles and happiness. It is difficult. It's a job. So you're not only marrying a person, you're marrying a job. And it's a job that you don't really have much choice in. And it's a job that is never ending. You don't retire at 65. As you can tell by the Queen and Prince Charles, those are the times in your life when a lot of people are winding down, and actually Prince Charles is looking to wind up. So it's not a life that everybody would suit. Okay, Anthony says the Duke of Kent really resembles the Tsars. Yes, because they're all distantly related. So, as we know, George V resembled his cousin, and I think it's the beard as well. It's the sort of the facial hair that does do it. But yes, they do look alike. Loretta says no, so I presume Loretta wouldn't want to be a member of the royal family. I think a lot of people are content with just looking from afar, and that not being their own reality. Okay, Cian Moon says, I notice that William and Catherine keep their hands in front of them or holding or grasping their hands. Is that for a reason? I think if you hold your hands, you don't fidget. So it always looks bad on film or on camera if you're doing lots of fidgeting. So I think they probably hold their hands in front for deportment, for elegance, for grace, and so that you don't start to fidget or put hands in pockets. I think it's just a better look than having hands loose. It looks tidier, it looks better in photos, it looks better in videos. It's etiquette, really. It's a bit like remembering to put your shoulders back and your head high, trying to imagine that you're balancing a book on your head for good deportment. Maybe I should do videos on etiquette. What do you think? Perhaps I could turn some young people into proper ladies. I could do some videos on manners. How to get in and out of cars. That's always a skill. I think a lot of celebrities these days should really pay attention to etiquette. There is no reason why they should get photographed getting out of cars with upskirt shots. That's a no-no. You would never ever see the Duchess of Cambridge having an upskirt shot. They get out of cars the correct way. And I think a lot of celebrities across the world should take note of how to get in and out of a car. Close your legs and swivel. And then descend from the car and rise. It's not hard. Britney Spears, shame on you. The name of the book is called My Story. Yes, I remember now. You've just jogged my memory. It was indeed My Story. And wow, it was 1996. You forget. Time flies by. Yeah, I do remember it being released. How old was I in 1996? 14? Something like that. Siam Moon says, oh yes, good idea. I think I should. I think there are a lot of people in need of etiquette. And manners. Where are manners these days? Where are gentlemen holding doors? I don't see them. And maybe I should do a video on English delicacies like the cup of tea. How to make a proper English cup of tea in fine china. This one's cold now, so I can't really drink it if it's cold. Can you see my tea? A question for you guys. In other countries in the world, do you drink lots of tea? I know in Britain we do. Coffee has been on the increase in popularity, but we still drink a lot of tea. I have some two favourite YouTubers that I watch, and they actually like tea, and in their videos they often are seen drinking tea. So I just wondered if it was becoming more popular over the world. But not just the Chinese way of drinking tea, because of course tea originated from China, but the British way from obviously a china cup, and you add milk to it, and some people have sugar. Okay, any royal questions? I think we went off track a little bit there, but any royal questions? Anything you've seen in the news? Any questions you've got? Anything? Oh, it still hasn't been confirmed if the Cambridge children, Charlotte and George, are going to Canada. I think that will be announced at the very last minute. I think it's likely they will, but that still hasn't been confirmed. So, watch this space. If you've joined late to the video, Prince Harry is back in the country. So he's finished his conservation work in Africa. And of course it was announced that he's going to tour the Caribbean. Okay. Right, Loretta says, have I watched the YouTube video where Paul Burrell teaches people how to serve tea like the Queen likes it? No, I haven't. I will have to Google it or search on YouTube. Sounds really good. In England, we do have a debate about about which order you should make the tea. So, some people boil the water and they pour the milk in first. And then some people add the milk second. I'm a add the milk second sort of person because I think you can tell more about how strong you want it if you're adding it in after it's brewed. Especially if you've made the tea in a single cup. So if you're not using loose leaf tea and you're using a modern tea bag, so you usually put one tea bag in a cup, add the water, and then let that get as strong as you want it, and then I usually put a little bit of milk in. I don't like mine too milky, so I just add a little dash and stir it, and then I can tell better how strong it is. But some people like to put the milk in first, and then obviously when you've added the water it takes longer to brew, and if you've sort of misjudged the milk, the tea bag isn't strong enough to make it as strong as you want it. So personally, I think it's more practical to add the milk second, but there is a big debate about that, and also the debate over tea bag versus loose tea. Loose tea is a lot stronger, it's a lot more full-bodied flavour, and if you've got the time to wait to do the loose tea, it's always better to do that. But if you want a really quick drink, if it's in the morning and you don't want any fuss, tea bags are probably a good option. So there, we've had a conversation about tea bags. But yes, going back to Loretta's point, I will indeed watch to see how the Queen likes her tea. Okay, so any other royal related questions? I think we are roughly coming up close to the hour, probably about 10 minutes left. So obviously if the questions are becoming a bit thin on the ground and we haven't really got many people watching, I may draw it to a close at the hour, until next week of course. I was really annoyed that the phone cut out earlier because we were immediately up to about 17 viewers, which was my highest peak, I suppose. And I think some of them got kicked off and went away. So, sorry to those guys. It wasn't me, it was the YouTube connection server. Okay, Loretta says, having a great chat. Yes, it's been really, really fun. Do excuse me if I go off on a tangent sometimes. Oh, one of my other things that I'm interested in, I mean, at the moment it's the end of British summer, so September is a time when our sort of plants start to lose their leaves and it becomes autumn. But one of the things I'm really into, and I've gotten into over a number of years now, is roses. So in my own private garden, I have a rose garden, and it's fairly new. It's probably about 2 years old, and this year my roses have really improved, and I tend to collect David Austin roses, and if you look on Facebook there are David Austin rose pages, and I do post some pictures of my roses on there sometimes, and they are looking really gorgeous, and a lot of them are named after royals. So for example there's Princess Marguerite, and there's lots of different roses named after royals, and I'm trying to build up a royal collection of roses. So maybe next year when they're in their peak condition, I may do a video on my royal roses. So if you'd like to see them, I could show you. Cease Keatman says, how many crowns and tiaras are available in the British royal family? There are lots. I can't count off the top of my head. Some of the main crowns are not in the private collection of the royal family. They are the crown jewels. So they're held on behalf of the nation, and they live in the Tower of London. So the St Edward's crown and the Imperial State crown live there. There's also the Prince of Wales modern crown, and all those sorts of crowns are there. Queen Victoria's small diamond crown, they're all there. But the tiaras are property of the Queen, and that's passed down from Queen, from monarch to monarch, or Queen consort to Queen consort, and there are lots of them. Some of them are on long-term loan. Some of them have been given as presents, so Princess Anne was given some, and then they're passed down. That's how the Victoria diadem got out of the royal family and got sold. So I'm still awaiting news on if that's going to be shipped out of the country or whether it's going to be kept and safe for the nation. But there are lots and lots and lots of crowns and tiaras and jewellery and earrings and necklaces, and there are lots, and I am going to get through them hopefully with some videos. I have got a big book on the Queen's diamonds, so I'm slowly working my way through, but there are lots. And of course a lot of the tiaras over time get dismantled and rebuilt into other ones. The jewels are taken out and reconfigured into new creations. So yes, there are a lot, and I don't know how many off the top of my head. And there are also, talking about crowns, there are some frames of crowns in the collection that don't have any jewels in. So they were previously used, but the jewels were taken out. Or some of them have fake jewels in, just to fill them up. So there are lots and lots and lots. And of course the Queen has her favourites. She quite likes the Vladimir tiara, which is the one with the circles and the emerald drops. She likes the Girls of Great Britain tiara, which was one of Queen Mary's. Camilla likes the Greville tiara. Catherine likes the scroll one, and of course she's got Diana's Lover's Knot tiara. But interestingly enough, there are lots of collet necklaces, which is the big diamond necklaces that go around, and I think one of those could be made into a very nice sort of hairband, which could be worn in a very modern way, almost like a tiara, but as sort of like a hairpiece. So one of my ideas for Catherine would be to turn one of the collet necklaces into a sort of hairband of diamonds, which I think would work very well, especially in one of the elegant updos. I also think that Queen Victoria's small diamond crown could make a reappearance one day, because the arches of it can be detached. So I think, for example, if Catherine was to have her hair up in a bun, the base of the small diamond crown could go around the updo. So I think that would be a very modern way of reinventing Victoria's small diamond crown. Okay, Annie Mercy says, "Hi Elliot, I'm so impressed with your knowledge of the royal family. Would you ever consider writing a book of your own?" I already have, actually. Many years ago I did start a book, and it was set in the court of James the First. And I got I got about a quarter into it, and it was really, really good, and I lost it. My computer broke, and I lost all my files and I hadn't backed it up. So I kind of gave up, and I am thinking about redoing the book, but of course because it took me so long to write it and I lost it, it's taken me many years to get to the point where I'm thinking about rewriting it again. So I would like to do a royal book, and I'm thinking of writing one set in the court of James the First. So that's after Elizabeth's died, and my book started with the death of Elizabeth. Elizabeth was on her deathbed, and James the First was ascending to the throne, because of course he was James the Sixth of Scotland. So I would like to do a book, but I don't know. It's very hard to get one published. There are quite a lot of people who write books. On the internet. Hello and welcome back. Sorry, I had a phone call come through on my phone and it kicked me off. So let's go back to the questions. Whenever that happens, I have to reboot, and that takes about 5 minutes. So please bear with. Okay. So I was answering the question about writing a book. Yes, I would consider writing a book. I've also thought about writing one possibly about Prince Harry. Fiction, of course. Or did you mean perhaps I write a factual book? Like a biography? Okay. Let's try and find some of the questions that I've missed. CM Moon says, who decides to give the crowns to which from Diana's collection to Catherine? Is it the Queen's decision or William's? Well, there's a little bit of confusion about the Lover's Not Tiara. Some say that it was given as a wedding present to Diana, so therefore it was her personal property, in which case when she died it was kept safe for William and Harry. However, after the divorce, apparently it was returned to the Queen, so therefore it must have been locked up in a vault all those years. And I think the Queen probably decided that it was time that it was passed on to Catherine. And of course, being the Duchess of Cambridge and the tiara being called the Cambridge Lover's Not Tiara, and of course with it having the connection to William's mother, it does seem rather fitting that it should have been passed on. Of course, we haven't seen her wearing it really in public. I mean, she has worn it once to a state dinner, a state banquet, but the cameras weren't really allowed in. I mean, there has been some footage of her released wearing it, but it wasn't widely released to the media. So she's worn it, I think, perhaps to get used to it, and I think it will be revealed, perhaps, in all its glory, in front of all the media at a later date. Hopefully. Okay, so I hope all the people that that I lost, I'm sorry that I lost you. My phone did get a call through, so it kicked me off. I am going to bring this live chat to a conclusion now. So thank you for tuning in. I will be live again next week at 10 o'clock GMT. So please think of any questions. Loretta, hello. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to go now. So I'm just saying goodbye to everybody. In case you didn't know, a call came through to my phone and I got kicked off. So sorry about that. I will be here again live next week. And of course I'll be making more videos. So from me in Shropshire, goodbye. I hope you've enjoyed the chat. and I really hope to see you next week. So please think of lots of really amazing questions, and I've really enjoyed our chat. So from me, goodbye.